Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, what a game. Arsenal 1, West Ham 0, 1-0 to the Arsenal. And I have my watch on, and the heart rate for when Arsenal scored their goal, or the moments after that, 161. It went straight back down a little bit. I calmed myself. And then as soon as West Ham scored, it went up back to 130 and sat there until the VAR decision went, and then I calmed down a little bit. It was a crazy game for me. I mean, I was standing here. This is a standing desk as well. I was standing up. I couldn't sit to watch the game. I was losing my mind. But let's talk about 5 things we learned from the game. First of all, first thing we learned is Arteta got his subs wrong. Fortunately, the performance from the players was enough, but we got that way wrong. Sorry, I'm kind of lit up right now. There we go. He got the subs way wrong. And the Zubamendi sub was poor. He made up for it by being willing to take Zubamendi off in that second half, which needed to happen. And it totally changed the outlook on that game. I think Mosquera for White should have been the sub immediately. And I think next week we probably see Zubamendi back to the bench and Mosquera back into right back position. That's if White and Timber are not available. But I think he got it way wrong in the first half. But he did make up for it, making the substitute later in the game. We went very aggressive in our substitutions, and it paid off. And we even took off Bukayo Saka in what was a must-win game. Second thing that I want to talk about is what this game means for the relegation battle. Obviously, West Ham are now a point behind. Tottenham have a game in hand. We could see West Ham relegated as of next weekend. Obviously, it would have been nice to see Tottenham get relegated, but I would rather win a title than see Tottenham get relegated. Plus, Tottenham is a free 6 points at this point for Arsenal. So that's what we're seeing there. I just don't think that Tottenham are suddenly going to come good if they stay up or if they get relegated. It really doesn't matter. I think they're going to stay in the bottom half of the table, regardless of what next season looks like. Third thing I want to talk about is David Raya. I mean, I'm going to do a separate video on him entirely here in the coming days just because he is that good. But this game, what we learned from this game is that he is, again, world class. If there were any doubters, he is a world class goalkeeper. And the last thing is he's now got the third straight golden boot, and this one is to himself. So Donnarumma is not going to be able to catch him after today's 1-0 victory. So that means that he has 18 clean sheets, and the best that Donnarumma can do is 17 clean sheets if he keeps clean sheets the rest of the season. But let's go through a few quotes here before we get into the last 2 things. Ian Wright reacted to the game on Sky Sports. He said that save from David Raya is probably the save that goes on to win us the title. And I think he's spot on there. I mean, I talked about David Raya just briefly there. I mean, he's world class and people forget it. And it's important to keep those moments, those things in mind in the moments that he comes up big for Arsenal. Going into what Leandro Trossard had to say, he said after the match, he was asked, about what this means to the title race, what this game means to him and the team. He said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have 2 games left to play. While yes, Arsenal are playing weaker opponents over the next 2 games, and they have a week in between those 2 games, it is still the Premier League, and anybody can beat anybody on any given day. Burnley won't be wanting to finish last, and Wolves could still catch them, I believe, at this point in the season, so they won't want to finish 20th. Imagine finishing behind what people said was the worst Premier League team ever. I think people say that every year about the team that starts off in 20th and is the first to get relegated, but besides the point. But I think I agree with what he's trying to say here. Crystal Palace could be a hard game. I think at this point, Crystal Palace is safe from relegation, which is good for Arsenal. It does also mean that Crystal Palace could play a weaker team if they wanted to against Manchester City. If they wanted to do that, they could. They could play a weak squad for the next 3 games, and people aren't really taking that into account. But City, on the other hand, have to play a strong team because they have to get results regardless of who the opposing team has. And then moving along to our next quote, Mikel Arteta spoke after the game. He said, if you want to win big games, there are moments. And that is a big moment. He talks about Leandro Trossard's goal, the VAR decision, which Mikel Arteta came out and said the foul on David Raya was clear and obvious. I'll talk about that here a little bit more. Look, I think that, I think it's a foul. I think you can clearly see in the video, and there's photos as well where he's grabbing Raya's left arm, and Raya can't get that arm up to catch the ball or to punch it like he wants to because he's stuck here. So he can just kind of like tap it, but he can't punch it like he wants to. So I think that it is a foul. Do I think it's soft given the standard of refereeing that we've allowed? Yeah, I think so. But I also think in a moment like that, you can't allow a foul to occur. I know, like, you could also say, well, you can't allow VAR to intervene in a situation like that. I mean, obviously, I have my own biases. I'm going to want that call to be called every day of the week. And I understand a lot of people maybe comment down below, that Arsenal have gotten, situations where they've not been called on that. People point to the Manchester United game this season. People point to the Aston Villa game this season. Were those fouls? Were those not fouls? Look, you can argue about every single play into the box, and if the referee decides to call it in this instance, I can't really argue it. I understand. Yeah, I've never been one to say, oh, it's never a foul, because at the end of the day, it's only what the referee calls it. I think there's been some situations where Arsenal have been fortunate, but sometimes you get fortunate, especially when you're competing for titles and things like that. You have to be a little bit lucky. I think Arsenal got lucky. I don't want to say got lucky today because I think it was a foul, but I think sometimes we have gotten lucky with fouls not being called on us, and I think that that's very fortunate. I think West Ham fans have every right to be upset because they've seen these types of physical moments not get called. I do think that, I don't have the screenshot pulled up in front of me, but I do think that David Raya gets fouled there. I mean, we see the arm across his arm. We see it being pulled. It's reaching across where his neck is into his arm, and it's like this across him. And so it's something you have to call, I think. I understand where West Ham fans are going to be coming from. Neutral fans are going to be calling for this to be a foul more than West Ham fans are. I think we're going to hear more noise about it from neutrals who were watching the game. And honestly, it's at the end of the day, again, similar to what Oliver Glasner said in his press conference, it's not made on one game out of the 38. It's over the 38 game season. Who is going to be the best team? At the end of the day, right now, Arsenal's the best team. That could totally change. A quote from Jared Bowen after the game just kind of talks about the situation. He was asked about the disallowed equalizer, to which he said, football is a physical game. If you're going to give it week in, week out. And so I think that's a totally fair assessment from Jared Bowen as well. I think that there's obviously inconsistencies we've seen every single week. And I think that that's something that we're going to, continue to deal with. But I think that overall, going into the fourth thing, that was the fourth thing I want to talk about was the VAR decision. And the fifth thing I'm going to talk about is how West Ham lined up. And I think West Ham actually lined up pretty well for that game. I mean, they made it very difficult for Arsenal. They played the three center backs with the two wing backs. The wing backs did a really good job of latching on to Arsenal. Diouf had a few opportunities to get in crosses. Arsenal were able to deal with the crosses. We're not able to stop him from getting those crosses in. I think that West Ham need to stay up because I think they're going to lose a lot of players this year. I think they're going to lose Diouf. I could see Bowen going. I could see Matthias Fernandez going. I could see Mavropanos going. I could see Wan-Bissaka going. I could see, I think there's one or two more. Callum Wilson's gone because I think his contract's in. Dizassi's contract loan is over. If I go over to the team real quick, Somerville, I think, will be gone. I think he'll go to one of those teams that just get promoted this season. Adama Traore's loan gets ended. So they'll have Valentin Castellanos, Pablo. Thomas Susek might be gone as well. That leaves them with like Freddie Potts, Mamadou Kante, Magasa, Venezuelan guy I've never heard of. In defense, that leaves them with Todibo, Kyle Walker-Peters, Max Kilman, Oliver Scarles, which is good enough. And then they'll have Hermanson as well in goal. So they'll have a few. They'll probably be able to keep 4 or 5 of their starters. But I think out of the starters of today, I'll list off the ones I think are gone if they get relegated this year. Mavropanos, Dizassi loan expires. Diouf, Wan-Bissaka, Thomas Soucek, Matthias Fernandez, Jared Bowen, and Somerville. So actually, that's like 8 of them. The ones I see them keeping are Hermanson, Todibo, and Castellanos. And again, we could see Bowen want to bring them up. I mean, we saw that with Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy had an opportunity to stay in the Premier League, decided to stay with Leicester, get them promoted, and then when they got relegated again, he decided to leave. We could see Jared Bowen try to do that and try to bring them back up, have a really good year in the championship. But Obviously, it'll be after a World Cup year as well, so he'll have a year where he doesn't really have to worry about the England squad as much. So I think that we could see Jared Bowen going down with them. But again, let me know what you guys' thoughts are on that game. Are you, you know, obviously there's the foul shot. Uh, there's the Trossard goal, the substitutes from Mikel Arteta that he got wrong, and then kind of made up for later in the game, making better substitutions, even taking one of those subs he made early off the field. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Arsenal 2 games to go, Burnley, Crystal Palace, and then Manchester City have 3 games to go in the league, and they are, if I can get over to Manchester City. Manchester City has the Crystal Palace upcoming midweek. Then they have Chelsea on the weekend in the FA Cup final. And then they play Bournemouth on the road. And then they host Aston Villa in the last game of the season. So let me know what you guys think happens. Do you think Arsenal are running away with the title? Do you think that Manchester City are going to catch them? Where do you think, if Manchester City is going to catch them, where do you think Arsenal slip up? Do you think it's the Burnley game? Do you think it's Crystal Palace game? I think that'll be a really hard one for Arsenal to drop points in, is that Crystal Palace game, because Crystal Palace will have to rotate so heavily for a Europa Conference League final. But let me know again in the comment section down below your thoughts.